largely in Asian culture, they don't drink milk. That is not something, some of the northern Asian countries they do, but but they're getting acquired to it. They're targeting children, mothers, and older people, and they're actually doing very good advertising and targeting segments of the population. The key behind this is they always have 5-year plans. They're on the 12th 5-year plan now, and it has identified doubling the dairy capacity in China in the next 5 years. So for us, what we're trying to do is take what we have in Canada, our superior genetics, you throw in canola meal, which is one of the superior feeds that can be used in dairy rations, and we're trying to leverage the door open so that they will accept dairy cattle. I would like to think that we had a very good introduction a couple of weeks ago with China, and they actually said Canadian dairy cattle will be back into the Chinese market. Now, Chinese sense of time is a little different than ours, so we'll have to work on that. Pork. Do people realize that China consumes half the world's pork? Pretty amazing. It's like their sense of prosperity is, having a pig in every backyard. And this is a great opportunity. China is increasingly relying on imports to offset shortfalls that they're having. The Chinese market is a priority for the Canadian pork industry. We've had a lot of success. It's something that we want to keep pushing into. And now we're exporting directly to China. We were going through Hong Kong for times. But it's interesting that Chinese pork imports were equivalent to 19% of total Canadian production. Our competitors, I believe, are the Danes and Jurgen, I think the Danes and I forget the other one, but we're third. We have a good hold on the market, and I think this is an area that we're going to continue to be successful in. The Chinese, too, have environmental issues and food security considerations that I think are going to allow for more imports. But at the same time, as I told you at the start, food security and social stability, that will be a deciding factor sometimes on how imports are let in. Now, I don't want you to say, the world's not fair. We want a rules-based system like the WTO so we can have predictability and people can make business decisions. But non-tariff barriers are going to increase and they're going to get more complex. But the opportunity by having a very good relationship with the Chinese, spending the time with them, I believe we will have success and allow our industries to grow long term. The Canadian advantage. What is the Canadian advantage? We're a reliable supplier and producer of diverse agricultural goods. All of the things that China needs, we have a lot of them. One of the things that I wanted to make reference to, we don't think about it, especially necessarily in Alberta, but canola meal is a great feed for fish. And it is being used a lot now in China, and they're the largest producers of aquaculture in the world. And from a cultural point of view, you've got pork, you've got fish. Those are the big things. So our canola is actually a great opportunity. We've been looking at it at the dairy industry, but now we are branding it and tying it to the aquaculture industry in China, and that's providing more opportunities. So our advantage is what we sell in a broad-based, we have a sort of a suite of packages or products that we can provide. Technology. China is obviously hungry for technology and management systems to allow them to do something better. This is always a challenge because we don't want to give them everything we're doing and then they're not going to buy our products, but packaging our products with our technology is something I think we can offer them. Also, overall we have very good relationships politically, the federal level, provincial level with the Chinese. The fact that the Prime Minister has obviously been signaling that he might be going back again this year. All of this bodes well because you include our political, our commercial, and our scientific, as well as academics. It's a very strong base, and that's just something you have to look at when we continue to talk about trade. Also, our major industry associations. Many of our industry associations either have permanent presence in China or they are spending the time to be over there on a regular basis. When I traveled with Jason, it was very clear as well. Agriculture Canada has an MOU with the Ministry of Agriculture in China. So does the Department of Agriculture in Alberta. This is allowing us to show that we have federal, sub-federal, industry contacts, and these are the things I think we should be able to leverage. I guess China is a priority market. Again, it's not a overstatement, but China is one of the 10 priority markets identified by the Government of Canada. That's the Government of Canada writ large, but also from an agricultural point of view, that's the Agriculture Canada, the CFIA, and the Department of Foreign Affairs. We've looked at China as one of our priority areas. Industry and provinces, everybody agree that this is an area that we should continue to work on and harness our collectiveness, because by doing it on our own, we may be successful. You got the pulses, you've got the beef, you've got the pork, you've got the federal, you've got the provinces. We can all do well. But I think the challenge that I want to give us today is we need to work more together. The competition is fierce. There's other countries that are so better established in China than us, and we need to aggressively go after them. And we got to differentiate ourselves from that. And my personal opinion is we got to do it. We'll be much better together. And historically, it's funny. I was in Ningxia, which is an autonomous region below Inner Mongolia, and it was a dinner with, I would say, people my age and older, and they extolled about the virtues and how much they love Canada because Norman Bethune. Now, we don't think about this much, but for the Chinese, a certain generation, it was a defining moment of how they think of us. So things like that, the fact that we were the first country or one of the first countries to sell wheat to China in the 60s when they needed it, that's another thing that we can use. But we got to take that, Norman Bethune, Agriculture Canada, and all of the stuff you did together and put it together to show what we can do as a group. And I guess this is where I wanted to finish up. It is a priority market, but it's complex, and it means we got to spend a lot of time on it. I've been effectively been spending a good year and a half on it just on certain issues right now, but I've been working on it for a little bit for the last 10 years. We have many ways to talk. We have the beef, we have the canola, we have lots of ways of talking. But I said, if we're going to have export success into China, we require a more sophisticated approach to China than we have now. It's clear. Everything that tells me the way we're doing things in China is, at best, satisfactory. If we really want to do it well, we're going to have to spend the time. We have to be positioning ourselves for the future, like decades. How are we going to get there? How are we going to change the dynamics or the outcomes? How are we going to change the outcomes vis-a-vis our competitors? We've got the United States, we've got the European, even the Welsh might be competing with us, Aussies and New Zealand. I say that because we're going to have to change our dynamic. Now, that's sort of where I am, and that's where I was working with your government, the provincial government, Jason, as well as your associations. So for me, at the end, I want to tell you we have great opportunities in China. Great opportunities. We have a solid base. But if we're really going to be successful, we're going to have to spend the time. Just going over and just meeting them and talking with them is not going to make it for us. We're really going to have to do something substance. When I was over there, the swine exporters of Canada, a number of them made some deals. They were out there on their own. Excellent work. They've been there, and they're selling live hogs, breeding hogs into China. But you know what? I think it's time for us to be working collectively and a little bit more coordinated and focused if we're really going to look to the future and grow your industry, because the complexity that John talked about in the WTO, the bilateral trade-free agreements, it's messy. And I think at the end of the day, food security, and the government said no, so the Chinese were not put off. So what they did is they gave credit to all the farmers in Brazil to increase their production with the guarantee that they would export the soybeans to China. So the Chinese still got what they wanted. They just came about it in a different way. And I think what we have to do it, we have to look at life a different way and come at it in a different way if we're going to be successful in China. Thanks very much.